right. Okay, how about this? All right, what's up, you guys? Welcome to a new video. It's been a minute. I haven't been on YouTube in a while. Honestly, I just haven't really been feeling like making videos or anything. I came back to the U.S. a couple months ago, and I'm going to be heading back to Southeast Asia here in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I haven't really done any videos since I was there. So I figured today we could do a video about something that is pretty important with a dropshipping business, and that is automation with your virtual assistants. And this will be kind of like an overall view, overview, a guide on a couple things. One is what to look for in a VA when you're searching for a virtual assistant. Number two is how to hire a VA. So I'll go over the process I do when I'm looking to hire a virtual assistant. Then we've got when you should hire the VA. So that's something that I still have mixed opinions on. So I'll give you a couple options there. And then last is what do you actually do once you hire the virtual assistant. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And let's talk about what to look for in a VA. The main thing that I look for in a virtual assistant is being able to communicate with them and them being reliable. So I know a lot of other people will look for virtual assistants that have a lot of experience. And I mean, this is kind of something that you do in the beginning because you initially think, well, if I can hire somebody that already knows how to do it, great, then I don't really have to train them that much. But that shouldn't really be your mentality going into it, because you got to think that the way that your business is set up and the way that you run the business is going to be way different than anybody else, unless you're copying them exactly. And I mean, that's a whole nother problem. But you need to look for someone who is easy to communicate with, someone that's going to be reliable, that's going to be on time, they're going to actually do what they say they're going to do. And yeah, you're going to want to find somebody that you can connect with and that you can give them instructions and they'll listen and they'll go through with it. Not only that, but you also want someone who can kind of think on their feet as well. You don't want like a robot for a virtual assistant who's just going to exactly follow every single instruction, because there's always going to be those times where something comes up or something's different and there's like a little change and they need to be able to adapt to that. So this kind of ties back in with the communication thing, because maybe they see a better way of doing something, or maybe they have a suggestion on whatever, some process that you have going on, and you need them to be able to have the courage to communicate with you. The worst thing that, like the number one red flag that I look out for when hiring a virtual assistant is the communication. I've got to have them ask me questions. Nobody gets instructions right away. There's always going to be little questions here and there. So you're going to want to make sure that you create an environment and they're confident enough to ask you those questions. So yeah, that's kind of what I look for. The last thing is going to be them having a flexible schedule. So you want to look for someone who, maybe if you need them to work on their day off and switch it for another day, or maybe you need them to work a little bit different hours here and there. Like for example, Black Friday just passed and I asked both of my virtual assistants if they can work a little bit earlier. And they're both like, yeah, that's totally fine. And you got to think it also goes the other way too. So if they need to come in late one day, or maybe they're sick, or maybe they want to do something on one of the days you wanted them to work and they want to switch it out for their other day off, then you also need to be flexible with them too. So it's a fair thing, and they get the advantage of working at home and you get the advantage of their work. So just work together with them, and yeah, but you want to look for someone that has a flexible schedule. You don't want someone who can only work during these specific times, because that's usually a recipe for disaster. That usually means they're either working for another business or they have another job. And to be honest, I always look for someone who is just looking for this one job and is not going to be splitting their time with someone else. So yeah, that's exactly pretty much what I look for in a virtual assistant. All right, now let's talk about when you should hire a VA. Now, this is something that I have mixed feelings on. I'm still not sure on what my answer is for this, but when I first started selling, it had gotten to a point where I didn't have enough time to grow and scale the business. I was just doing like the remedial tasks, like uploading tracking numbers, placing orders, just keeping the business up and flowing, right? So that's one point where you can hire a virtual assistant. Now, you guys might have heard my podcast with Dropship Tyler. He was someone who I started with, and he actually went a different route. So when he started, he had a full-time job, and I remember he hired a bunch of virtual assistants in the beginning. So after he learned something, he hired a virtual assistant relatively quick after that, and then he was actually able to grow his business a lot faster than I was, because obviously he had a lot more work, or a lot more help with the work. So it was a lot easier for him to scale his business, and he grew way faster than I did. And at the time, all I had was dropshipping, and I wasn't working anywhere. I had just moved to Thailand. So I was kind of on a budget, and I figured, I can do most of it myself, or pretty much all of it myself at the time. And then, like I said, once I got to the point where the daily tasks were kind of prohibiting me from scaling the business, and it was also prohibiting me from doing other things like going to the gym or just having free time in the day. So whenever you get to that point, I think that's when you should look into hiring a virtual assistant. And you should we say that? Let's save that other point for later. That's actually going to tie in with something else. So now let's talk about how to actually hire a virtual assistant. So there's two main websites that everybody uses, and you probably have already heard of these, and that's Upwork and onlinejobs.ph. So Upwork is a pretty popular site where you can hire virtual assistants for all kinds of things. It isn't just for e-commerce. Like these, they could be doing like crochet, or they could be doing graphic design work, logos, whatever. Upwork is just a site for freelancers, basically. Now, onlinejobs.ph is, I feel like it's a little bit more geared towards virtual assistants specifically. You might find people on there that have specific skills, but Online Jobs PH the PH is Philippines, right? So these are all workers in the Philippines, and typically they do like data entry and e-commerce and normal VA type jobs. You're not gonna really find too many like logo creators or video editors or anything like that on there. So for Upwork, there is no fee for you to join. There's a minimum $3 per hour that you would pay to your virtual assistant, and then I believe it's 20% of that goes to Upwork. So you're not actually paying anything extra. It's kind of coming out of the virtual assistant's pocket, which I don't really like. I think 20% is quite a bit for like coming out of a salary. So either you can bump that up 20%, or leave it at whatever sale or whatever hourly price you want, and it'll get cut from them. But I think onlinejobs.ph is a better choice. Now there is I think it's $60 or $70 per month for you to post the job. So once you hire somebody or whatever, you can get rid of the account. You don't need the account after that. You can pay $70 and cancel it right away, and you still get like a month's worth of posting jobs. So what I would do is pay the $70, post your job, and then cancel the account, and then find a virtual assistant and hire them that way. And then when you go to pay your virtual assistant, you can pay them either on PayPal or through Payoneer, or I think onlinejobs.ph has like some kind of payment system, so you can use that as well. And because you're paying them through PayPal or Payoneer or whatever, there's no like minimum. I'm not saying to not pay your VAs a lot, but I'm saying that for entry level positions, like if they're just uploading tracking numbers, or if they're just doing like really basic data entry stuff, I'm not going to pay them like $5 an hour, because it's just not going to be profitable for the business. And I mean, to be honest, $5 an hour, I'd rather just do it myself. I could do it quicker and get it done. So at that price, it's not even worth outsourcing it, right? So the good thing about that is you everything is up to you. You don't have to go through Upwork's platform and utilize their payment processing or anything like that. So that's why I like onlinejobs.ph better, and that's why I think you should use it too. So once you've decided on which of the two you're going to be using, you're going to want to create your job post. So what I do is I'll write my job post out in like a Google Doc or something like that, and in that job post I ask basic questions. Like I said, in the criteria above, what I said a minute ago, you're just looking for somebody who you can communicate, who follows instructions, who can think on their feet, and you'll get a general sense overall of how a person is. I don't necessarily look for people who have dropshipping experience because, like I said, every business model is different and you got to train them. So I'm just looking for somebody who, whoa, there goes my light. Come on. All right, there we go. So you're looking for someone basically who you can train, not necessarily somebody who has tons of job experience. This could be different. Maybe you actually do want someone who has a lot of job experience in the specific task that you're going to have them be working on. But I don't find that to be a big deal, honestly. My first virtual assistant that I hired, who's still with me today after 2.5 years, he had zero experience. He's never even done any virtual assistant work at all, let alone dropshipping. But he was a really good communicator. He's very honest. He has a flexible schedule. He can think on his feet. Like, he's a really smart guy, and he communicates well. So it ended up working out. I was able to train him, and he does everything I need him to do. So it worked out. But he didn't have any experience in the beginning. So, you know, if you see someone, they don't have any experience, don't say no to that right away. And if you see somebody that has a lot of experience, don't jump into hiring them right away either, because I think that's a big mistake. All right, so going back into what you're going to write. So within that job post, you're going to write out what the job is. So like, let's say you're looking to hire someone to place orders. So you want to write out exactly what they would be doing, right? So you're going to be utilizing websites like Walmart, Home Depot, Bed Bath & Beyond, and you're going to be placing orders for the Amazon account. And then after you create the job, the job description, then you're going to create the requirements, and the requirements are just going to be the criteria that I gave you before. Feel free to obviously remove or add anything to that, but that's kind of just like the general gist of it. And hopefully people who see that, maybe they don't feel confident in those job requirements and they won't apply. So it'll help weed some people out. And then the other thing I like to do is just add in a little instruction for them. So like I said, with the criteria, you're looking for someone who can follow instructions. So just put in a little instruction in there. Like, it could be something as simple as like, put your favorite food in the subject line of your reply. Something very simple like that, just to see if they can follow a simple instruction. And if they're not able to follow that instruction, then they're probably not going to follow the other instructions that you give them. So that's just a really easy way to weed out a couple more people. And yeah, once you have that, then you're going to want to do some Skype interviews. You're going to get a lot of applicants coming in, especially if you use onlinejobs.ph. I think the last time I put a job post up, I got like 70 responses, which is quite a few applications to go through. The first layer of weeding people out is going to be going through and see if they answered the questions, see if they followed the instruction, and then from that point you can kind of like start reading out the answers that they gave and see how you like them. I would try to get it down to about 10 people. Once you've got 10, then from that point what you can do is get their information and do a Skype call. I like to just do a Skype call just to kind of get a sense of who they are and how they act and how they communicate verbally. Most of the time you're not going to be communicating with them verbally, but text can be misleading. You could look at an application and it's great, and then you talk to them and they obviously aren't good at communicating, or they don't seem like they know what they're talking about, or they're not confident about it. So I would make sure that you get on a Skype call with the top 10 that you picked out and actually just see how their personality is and see if it's going to mesh well with yours and work with the business. And after you've gone through those 10 candidates on Skype, I would get it down to about 5 people. So once you have your 5, 3 to 5, it doesn't really matter, 3 to 5, then you're going to want to look at all your notes that you have for them and kind of analyze and see who you think would be the best fit. Don't overthink this part. I'll tell you why in a second, but just don't overthink it. Just pick one of them that you think is a good candidate and roll with it. So from there, you can let them know, like, hey, you have been chosen for the position. And then what I'd like to do is let them know that you want to do a 1 to 2 week trial. So you're not hiring them right off the bat. They're not completely in the door yet. Let them know that you want to do like a 1 to 2 week like internship type thing, right? And then you just, because you want to let them know that you want to see how well they work and see if they're going to be a good fit for the business. So have them come on, and you're going to be paying them for these 1 to 2 weeks as well, but you want to test them out, right? So you want to give them a low risk, medium, a little bit difficult of a task to see how well they do. So like, let's say for example, that would be something like product research. So give them a video of you explaining how to do the product research for your store. And then after that, they can go through, find some items, add them to a Google sheet, and then from there you can analyze to see if they followed the instructions and they were able to find items. If they weren't, then you know they're not going to be a good fit. And if they did a decent job and you think they're trainable, and you're also going to be talking to them every day, so you'll get a sense of their personality. So if there's somebody who was able to follow it, or maybe they're like almost there, but you can see that you can train them, then that's going to be somebody that you'll want to keep on. Now, like I said, you want to get down to the 3 to 5 people that you think would be good fits. And if that first person doesn't work out, then you can contact one of those other couple people and see how they do. And just keep doing this until you find someone who you are really confident in. It's okay if you waste a week or 2 on a virtual assistant that maybe didn't work out for the business. It's better for you to, go through the trial with them, and then if it doesn't work, get rid of them and work on someone new, than it is for you to try to keep them and try to make it work. It's just going to be a hassle, and it's going to be dragged out a lot longer. So I would definitely suggest, if you don't feel comfortable with them being your virtual assistant and doing the tasks that you need them to do, then I would cut them, go to the next. It's okay. You let them know from the beginning. That's why we let them know from the beginning that we're going to be doing like a test trial period. All right, so once you have chosen a virtual assistant, someone that you think you can rely on, they're a good communicator, they follow instructions, and they seem like they're going to work out for the business. Now, after that 2-week trial where you're having them do the, like product research or whatever task that you want to like start them off with, now you're going to figure out what you actually want them to do and what their position and their job is going to be in the business. So this is really going to depend on what your pain point is and kind of what takes the most brain power for you. Because that's really what your virtual assistant is going to do, is going to save you time and is going to save you energy, so you can move that energy and that time over to some other task, right? So for me, when I first hired my first VA, I had them start off by doing orders. It's because we had a lot of orders. It took a lot of time. I was kind of exhausted after I finished the orders. I didn't want to really do anything. So I figured if I had my virtual assistant work on the orders and get that done, and then I can utilize that time to work on the rest of the business and work on actually scaling it up, right? So go ahead and think about what takes the most time and the most energy out of you. And I would start off by outsourcing that. And you're looking for, that's going to be the highest return on your investment, right? If you have them do the basic easy tasks and you continue on with the difficult task, or the task that takes the most brain power, I feel like you're not getting the best return on your investment there by paying them. So you're going to want them to go with the task that takes the most time. So some of the things you could have them do is orders. You could have them doing tracking numbers. You could have them doing product research or customer service. Just another quick word on this. I like starting off with orders because I feel like I said that takes the most energy and the most time. And I think it's the most valuable too. So if you can start this first VA off and they do a really good job, if they can handle the orders, they kind of got to understand the rest of the business for them to be able to do orders. And I would say that customer service should probably be the last thing that you outsource, because customer service is really going to be the thing that affects your metrics. Now, of course, orders, tracking numbers, all that kind of stuff is also going to affect your metrics, but I feel like customer service is kind of the last line of defense when it comes to your metrics. You know, a good message or a bad message to a customer could be the difference between you getting a negative or positive, or you getting an A to Z claim or not. So I think that customer service, unless you're really confident in outsourcing it, you should kind of save that for last. And then once you figure out what task you want to give them, now what I would do is this is a method that I've taught a couple of people when it comes to training virtual assistants, and that is a working backwards method. So what I do is, let's say for orders, instead of having them go on Amazon and download the order sheet and then organizing the sheet and then finding the item and then placing the order and then updating all the information on your sheet, instead of having them do everything from A to Z, what you want to do is start off with the very last step. So what I would do is get everything ready in your Google sheet, all your orders, if that's how you place orders. If you place it directly from Amazon, start there. All you would do is give them the item that needs to be placed, give them the customer's address, have them go on the source, and then teach them how to do that very last step. Don't overload them with tons of stuff. You want to have them start with the very last step, have them do it a bunch of times until they got that packed down, right? Because at least they could always do that. You can always do the first part and get it to the end, and then they can finish it off. Then next thing you're going to do is then you're going to go one step backwards, right? So instead of giving them the item number and giving them the customer's address, you show them where the item number is and where the customer address is, and then they get that, they place the order. Get that, place the order. Get that, place the order for all your orders. And then you're going to just keep working backwards all the way until you get to step one. So the way that I do this is I use an application called Loom. It's completely free. It's a Chrome extension, and it records your screen and your voice, so you can do little tutorials that way. I'll also write it out in a Google Doc, and then I'll put the links in there as well. So every single step of placing orders, I have it numbered out. So I got like step 1, go on Amazon and download the order report. Number 2, import the order report into a Google Sheet. Number 3, organize the Google Sheet. So for each of these, I'll have a video underneath it, and then they can watch the video on how to do it. But like I said, start them off with the very last step, make sure they get really good at it, and then work your way backwards into the first step. Then at that point, you should have a virtual assistant who's really good at it, and don't move on to the next step unless they got the previous one down, okay? So the last step, if they're still not getting it, don't move on and give them more, because it's just going to mess them up and they're not going to be able to figure it out. So finish up with the last step and then move your way backwards all the way to the first step. And then the next task you give them, same thing. Start with the last step and then have them work backwards to the first step. All right, so I think I've gone on long enough about automating your business with virtual assistants. If you guys have any questions, or if you guys want me to go more in depth and create a separate video on one of these items on the list here, then just go ahead and let me know. But just a quick wrap up before I finish. What to look for in a VA. You want someone reliable. You want them to be able to communicate easily, follow instructions, think on their feet, and have a flexible schedule. Then to hire a virtual assistant, you're going to go on Online Jobs or Upwork, and you're going to look for a virtual assistant who meets that criteria. They answer your questions, you interview them on Skype, and then from there you pick out of those top candidates, give them a 1 to 2 week trial of a low risk, medium difficulty task, If they work out, good, you keep them. If they don't work out, repeat that last step again and hire someone new, do the trial period. Once you find the person who you want to hire, once you hire them, then you're going to figure out what tasks they're going to work on for your business, and you're going to train them. You're going to start with the last step and go all the way back to the first step and train them with videos, or you could even train them like on Skype directly. So that's a wrap. Like I said, if you guys want me to do a video on a specific topic within that, let me know. I could always elaborate, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.